The word superhero typically conjures up images of cape-wearing, law-abiding good guys, while Wolverine's incredible powers certainly fit the superhero billing. Law-abiding is a bit of a stretch, especially in Logan. Though mostly morally justifiable, many of Logan's actions throughout are brazenly criminal, ranging in severity from felony DWI to assault with a deadly weapon.
Adamantium.
We've analyzed his myriad of offenses and tallied the results to see how he'd fare at trial, and the results are shocking to say the least. The film starts with Wolverine waking to find thieves attempting to strip his car for parts. He appeals with them to stop, with predictable results.
This is the lease. No one's gonna pay to ride.
The thugs beat and shoot him, he slashes and skewers, and by the time the melee ends, 3 would-be murderers lie dead in the Texas sand. Now, while a valid self-defense claim would clear Wolverine of most serious potential charges at trial, murder, manslaughter, and the like, his prompt departure from the scene and failure to report the bodies would have him on the hook for 3 counts of felony evidence tampering. Within 5 minutes, Logan is already facing 3 decades behind bars and $30,000 in fines. We'll keep this tally running throughout, and it's going to add up quickly. Back at his day job as a driver, Logan is approached by the mysterious Gabriella, who beseeches him for help. He screams at her in a rage and stalks off. Hardly the picture of a superhero. As Gabriella drives off, Logan captures a glimpse of a child staring, unblinking at him. As becomes readily apparent, Wolverine has fallen on hard times. Logan's exchange with a hospital worker looks dubious and criminal. It's safe to say the drugs he's purchasing weren't obtained legally, which is a double whammy for Wolverine. He's not only on the hook for misdemeanor drug possession, but misdemeanor receiving stolen property as well. As it turns out, drugs aren't his only vice. Back behind the wheel, Wolverine downs whiskey from the bottle before realizing he's not alone. The villainous Donald Pierce appears in his back seat.
As I live and breathe, the Wolverine. And he's a junkie now. Who the f*** are you?
Referring to the disheveled Logan as a junkie before requesting his cooperation in tracking down an escaped mutant girl, the same girl Logan had seen in Gabriella's car. Now, while Pierce is far from upstanding himself, he does seem to have a point. Drinking and driving isn't the hallmark of someone who has it together. It is, however, a crime, albeit a misdemeanor, assuming a first-time offense. Logan crosses into Mexico, and the purpose of his surreptitious purchase becomes apparent. Professor X is ailing, and Logan is charged with caring for him. He does so with the help of Caliban, medicating X with a cocktail of pills and injections that return him to lucidity. Logan writes off X's assertion that there are more mutants out there, claiming none have been born in 20 years before leaving the professor lying in his makeshift hospital.
Why are we here? No one should live like this, drugs in a fucking tank.
For your own good.
No, it's not.
Logan returns to Texas and continues working. He finds Gabriella and the young mutant, and reluctantly accepts a $20,000 down payment in exchange for transporting them to an unspecified address in North Dakota. He has misgivings, but the promise of another $30,000 upon reaching Eden is too good to pass up. It'll allow Logan and X to buy a boat and flee Mexico for the open ocean. He returns to Mexico and informs X and Caliban he'll be away for a few days. Back in Texas, Logan is ready to make good on his promise, but he's too late. The motel room has been ransacked, the girl is missing, and only Gabriella remains, slumped dead in a chair. Once again, Wolverine doesn't report the clearly suspicious death. He flees back to Mexico, joined by 2 unexpected arrivals, the mutant Laura and the transigent security chief Pierce. Laura shows a glimpse of her powers by bludgeoning Pierce unconscious. Logan instructs Caliban to dump him far away from their hideout, and deals Pierce a vicious kick to the head to ensure he stays unconscious, adding another felony assault charge to his list of crimes. Elevated from misdemeanor, as it was reasonably intended to cause serious bodily harm. But it doesn't work. Pierce wakes up, captures Caliban, and leads a cavalcade of soldiers back to X's compound in an effort to recapture Laura. It's a deadly mistake. Laura's powers, as it turns out, are a bit more evolved than Logan's initial estimation of being able to throw things. She butchers her would-be captors with her own set of Wolverine-esque claws. After his amazement wears off, Logan joins in, slashing an opening in the wall of soldiers and escaping alongside Logan and Professor X. Enraged, Pierce tortures Caliban into agreeing to help track the trio, and the chase is on.
Now, let's not bring out the worst in each other.
Now, the trio stops at a convenience store to use the restroom. As Logan tends to Professor X, Laura again displays her incredible power and feral nature. She grabs snacks and sunglasses, munching around the store until a concerned cashier confronts her.
You know you gotta pay for that, right?
She slams him to the ground and is primed to drive her claws through his skull, when Wolverine arrives just in time to stop her and offer a terse reprimand. Before they leave, he helps himself to a phone charger and a handful of cigars. Assuming this haul doesn't exceed $100 in value, Wolverine will only face a misdemeanor petty theft charge and a fine for this most recent crime, though community service could be mandated as well. Things are about to escalate quickly, so let's take a second to recap Logan's current debt to society. 63 years plus 1 week in prison, $66,500 in fines, 180 days suspended license, potential community service. As X and Laura sleep in the car, Logan reviews harrowing transigent footage found on Gabriella's phone, where the truth behind Laura's powers and fugitive status are revealed. Laura was created as part of a program to turn children into mutant weapons. Transigent developed a superior weapon though, and the plan was shelved. A pleasant way of saying the children were to be killed. Horrified, Gabriella attempts to save Laura and as many mutant children as she can, with the ultimate goal of fleeing to Eden, a safe haven where the mutants can live without fear of being hunted.
A place for mutants. They call it Eden.
With Pierce hot on their trail, thanks to Caliban and a tracking chip, Logan sets out to find a new ride for the fugitives, leaving X and Laura recuperating in a hotel. Armed with Gabriella's cash, he's able to purchase a car, but has to wait in a bar as its tires are replaced.
How long will that take?
Hour.
There, he makes a horrifying discovery. The Eden they're fleeing to is nothing more than a bit of comic book fiction. He also pounds whiskey before getting back behind the wheel, a major no-no that'll add another misdemeanor DWI charge to his rap sheet. Logan returns to the hotel and immediately knows something is wrong. Everyone is frozen in a seizure, indicating Professor X and Laura are in duress. He makes his way to the hotel room through a maze of frozen bodies, killing all the armed henchmen surrounding X before injecting the nonagenarian and ending his terrible seizure. Now, given that all the dispatched villains were armed and intent on killing the trio, Wolverine could again claim self-defense at a hypothetical trial. But he'd have no defense against an additional 6 counts of felony evidence tampering though, as he again flees a scene littered with dead bodies without contacting the proper authorities. The pursuit continues across Oklahoma, with Pierce now aided by transigent head Dr. Xander Rice, as Rice strikes a deal with Caliban to spare Xavier and Logan in exchange for Laura. Xavier persuades Logan to help farmer Will Munson wrangle escaped horses. In return, Logan, Xavier, and Laura are invited to Munson's for dinner. Now, after dinner, Logan intervenes in a feud between Munson and a corporate farmer.
I'm gonna count 3.
While the farmer's claim of land ownership is dubious at best, making using a gun to scare Munson off it potentially illegal, it won't legally excuse Logan's actions. He grabs the gun and bashes the farmer with it before snapping it in half. But this is hardly his biggest concern, though. Back at the farm, Transigen's secret weapon is unveiled. It's X-24, a mindless clone of Wolverine in his prime. Now, X-24 kills 3 of the Munsons and attempts to flee with Laura. Wolverine battles him, but is on the verge of being overpowered when Will slams into X-24, pinning him and allowing Wolverine and Laura to escape. Will succumbs to his injuries, as do Caliban and Xavier. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Logan doesn't stick around long enough to alert authorities this time either. Now, while his decision to flee with Laura makes sense given the context, the cops are unlikely to see it this way. 6 more felony evidence tampering charges and another $60,000 in fines are coming. Logan buries Xavier in the woods before the grief overwhelms him. He bashes his truck to pieces before collapsing in the middle of the road. Now, Laura manages to get him to medical attention, saving his life. When he regains consciousness, Wolverine insists on making a hasty getaway. Now, in spite of reproving Laura for grabbing keys to a vehicle and hopping into it, Logan doesn't walk his talk. The pair flee in the now stolen car, adding a felony Grand Theft Auto charge to his laundry list of crimes. They make their way to North Dakota when Richter and the rest of the Transigen children are preparing to cross into Canada. Now, Logan initially refuses to join them, but when he sees a caravan of Reavers moving to ambush them, abruptly changes his mind and gives chase. Not before grabbing a vial of serum Richter gave him to boost his strength for the impending battle. With his powers at their highest, Logan and the children destroy the Reavers and kill Rice and Pierce, setting the stage for a final showdown with X-24. Now, were he to be posthumously tried for these crimes, Logan would ultimately face 199 years, 2 weeks in prison, $193,500 in fines, having his license suspended for a year, and, if a judge was feeling spiteful, an unspecified amount of community service. What do you think? Does the punishment fit the crime? Or is being pursued by a supervillain and an army of evil henchmen a reasonable enough defense to warrant a serious reduction? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more detailed analysis of the big screen's biggest criminals. Failure to like, share, and subscribe is punishable by a fine of $10,000 and up to 10 years in prison.